Okay, what I'm going to do now is basic panel lining. I'm using Tamiya enamel paint. This is an oil-based paint. So what I'm going to do is first create my wash solution, which is just a small dot of enamel paint onto my painting tray. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a little bit of Rosinol lighter fluid. Now this stuff has Nepentha, which is basically an oil-based product. And I found that this works really nicely for. You can use any enamel thinner, preferably the brand of enamel thinner that came with the product. What I'm going to do is just mix this up so it's fairly liquidy, and that is basically my wash solution. Whoa. That's basically my wash solution. It's fairly liquidy, and there's no real formula to it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just dip my. Now I have two examples: my flat coat and my gloss coat. I'm going to use the flat coat first, just to demonstrate why it's best to do this process over a gloss coat. So this process is pretty simple. All I'm going to do is I'm going to touch the brush to the lines, and it will run through the lines. And notice when I touched it, it kind of got a sponge effect where the paint went everywhere. Now this is because it's a flat surface or flat sprayed surface, and you have little dots on the surface that work to absorb it. And now the panel lining process is not going to work well on this piece. So I'm going to put that away, and I'm going to go back to this glossy piece. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to touch it to one of the edges, and you can see the panel lines pretty much run themselves. Just going to touch it at several different points and have the panel lines run across. Now you see when I touched it on the part, it's not going to sponge out like it did on the other piece, because the gloss coat is keeping the paint within the confines of the panel line. Just let it run itself. Now what I could do now, after you let this sit for a little bit, is you come back with a little paper towel and just wipe away the excess. Very carefully wipe away the excess. Don't worry about smearing. I'll come back and clean that up. Now I've wiped away a bit of that excess. What I'm going to do to further clean this, I'm going to apply a little bit of the lighter fluid to my napkin here. I'm just going to carefully wipe up the excess and clean up the part, any leftover smudges. What I usually do is let this sit overnight and then come back with the lighter fluid. That way the panel lines inside, or the paint inside the panel lines, has had a chance to kind of dry for a bit. And it might take a little bit more to wipe away the excess, but it's still pretty easy, and you're not going to harm the paint surface. Now you make the comparison of trying to wipe away the excess here. It's going to be a little bit more difficult. Still can be done, but I've also darkened the tone when that happened. Now you can see the comparison with the other areas. Panel line's still there, but it's just a lot cleaner and easier to do over a glossy surface. You can make the comparison with the panel line there and panel line here.